Everyone, we're going to talk today about interest. And what interest is it's an additional amount of money you have to pay when you borrow. So for example, when people borrow money from a bank, when they take out a loan, there is an interest or an additional amount they have to pay in addition to the amount they borrowed. This kind of gives the bank incentive to give the person the money they need. So interest, this formula here, is to find simple interest. That's going to be the extra amount we have to pay. So I equals P times R times T. That's how we can find any of the missing pieces in our interest formula. I stands for interest. And again, that's the additional amount you have to pay. P stands for principal. That is the initial amount we borrow or are loaned. The R stands for rate, and that is the percent. So you have to make sure you have to turn that percent to a decimal in order to plug it in. So R stands for rate. It's given as a percent. And we're going to say turn percent to decimal. And last but not least, T stands for time in years. So let's look at the first example we are given. To buy a computer, Raquel borrowed $3,000 at a 9% interest rate for 4 years. How much money did she have to pay back? So first things first, let's write out our formula. I equals P times R times T. We're going to put in I equals P equals R equals and T equals at the bottom to figure out what we want to plug in where. So the amount you borrowed is the principal. So we're going to say $3,000 is the principal there. The rate is the percent as a decimal. So we see we have 9%. To turn that to a decimal, we want to move that decimal point over 2 times. So it becomes 0.09. Time is the amount of years. So we have 4 years. So now we're looking for the interest X. That's the amount she has to pay back. So we have I equals P times R times T. Instead of principal, we're going to plug in 3,000. Times the rate, which we converted 9% to a decimal as 0.09, times the time, which we said was 4 years, so we're going to plug in 4. So once we multiply together all these guys, we get our interest is $1,080. So that's not the total amount she has to pay back, that's just the interest. So to find that total amount, we're going to take the initial amount she borrows, $3,000, add that $1,080. So remember, what interest is it gives the bank incentive to give a person a loan. So they have to give back the amount they borrowed plus this interest here. So the total amount Raquel is paying is $4,080. So now we're going to try a problem where we are given the amount she has to, or we're given that interest, and we have to solve for the rate. So interest is not just borrowing from a bank, but it's also with investments. So if you put your money into an account, you can get an extra certain percent the longer you leave your money there. So, for example, this person invested $500 and with the interest received $650. So see how the initial amount goes up the longer you leave your money in there? Awesome. So remember, let's write down our formula. I equals P times R times T. We're going to write down I equals P equals R equals and T equals. So the initial amount, or the principal, is $500. The rate is what we're looking for, so we're going to keep that. The time is it's in the account for 3 years, or it's invested for 3 years. Now the interest is just the extra money you have to pay or the extra money you receive. So if we started off with $500 and we ended up with $650, to find that interest amount, we subtract. So when we subtract, we get $150, and this is our interest. So this is what we would plug in for I. So let's plug into our formula and solve. So we have the I is 150 equals the principal, 500. We don't know the rate, so we're going to keep that R. That's what we're looking for. And the time was 3 years. So let's multiply and solve for R. We're going to treat this like a 2-step or 3-step equation. So 500 times 3, we're going to multiply those numbers first to get 1,500 R equals 150. Now to get R by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 1,500. So we get 0.1 equals R. Now remember, R is a percent. So to turn this decimal to a percent, what we want to do is move that decimal point over twice. So our rate is 10%. Awesome. And that is all for today.